Welcome to the very first episode of Car Show Life here on NorthcentralPA.com. I'm Drake Donovan, car enthusiast, Camaro owner, and storyteller. Now, I absolutely love cars. I like to say I was born into it because I was brought home from the hospital in a 1971 Camaro Rally Sport. That's me working with my dad in the garage. And driveway. We didn't have a garage then. But my mom actually got me into the hobby because that was her car. And so she was a Camaro enthusiast. So I'm a Camaro enthusiast. I got my first car at the age of 18, and it was a 1985 Camaro Sport Coupe. And then a few years later, I was able to get almost the same car in a 2002 upgraded with T-tops and air conditioning that was more reliable. And then I found myself in my first V8 Camaro, a 2011 Camaro convertible that I call Sunshine. And that's the car that really got me into car shows and showing. I'm a car guy, love cars. However, I am not a mechanic, despite what you saw in that first picture. I know, kind of weird, right? But no, I do get my hands dirty from time to time, but mostly with cleaning and detailing. I leave the taking apart and putting back together to the people who do it often enough to know how not to screw it up. So I often say I'm more of a mouse clicker than a wrench turner. But a few years ago, my wife and I, we left our hometown and have been moving around for the last couple of years. And I used cars as a way to get to know my new community and to make friends. When we were in Kentucky and Ohio, I ended up joining Camaro clubs to try to get to know the area a little bit better. But when we moved to Williamsport, there were no Camaro clubs. So I decided to create something that would allow me to get into the car scene here, regardless of what kind of car I drove. And so began Car Show Life. So, what exactly is Car Show Life? Well, it's a lifestyle brand. It's all about you and your car. Now, every car has a story to tell, whether it's a barn find, an all original survivor, a family heirloom passed down from generations, or simply the car that you just always wanted to own. So I like to tell those stories through car show display boards so spectators can know a little bit about what they're looking at and why this car was so special for the owner to bring to the show in the first place. And a lot of times you'll go to a show and you'll look at a car and you'll say, man, I didn't know they made these back then. Is this a 68 or a 69? Or did they really do that from the factory, or is that custom work? And a lot of times the owner's there to ask, but maybe they're not. Maybe in this case, like this 60 Impala, the owner has passed on, and it's his wife telling the story of how much he loved that car and how that car was the beginning of their relationship, and he taught her how to drag race in it. So you're able to tell that story without actually having to be there. Maybe the owner's gotten up to go claim their door prize or go to the restroom, or maybe they're just like you, enjoying the show, looking at a bunch of cars. So they're not always there to ask, and cars don't tell the story. So we're able to take some pictures and get those interesting stories like this one of this 36 Ford Woody, where the guy bought it in pieces. He didn't buy the car running. He bought a project that was somebody had given up on and found the right people to do it. And he also has it credited to the folks that did the body work and the interior trim. And so that's kind of what I do. And then I also make t-shirts and artwork and a lot of cool other things that car people and car enthusiasts enjoy. And so that was my way of kind of getting into the hobby without having to rely on Camaro clubs. I could, fit in with the Mustang guys or the Corvette folks or the folks that have antique cars or the tuner guys. So it allowed me to kind of move between groups. And so that's kind of the genesis of what this show is, to try to fill a hole where people have been starving for car shows because of COVID-19 and the shutdown and all these shows and events that have been canceled in 2020. So, what can you expect from this show? Well, a little bit of everything, really. We'll talk to folks that organize car shows, kind of get a feel for why shows were canceled so far in advance, looking at things in March, April, and stuff was supposed to happen July, August, and then it didn't. We'll kind of get the backstory of why those decisions were made and why certain shows are happening now. We'll also touch on automotive news from the manufacturers and headlines from the car collector world, as well as the world of motorsports. And we'll talk to folks in the industry that collect cars, that customize cars, that build cars outright, and the folks that are just average hobbyists like you and me that like to get up early on a Sunday or Saturday and sit in a parking lot or a field and look at and talk about cars all day. And we'll also have some stuff here on the page at NorthcentralPA.com, a calendar of car show events in the region that actually are happening, Car Show Life's weekly Ride of the Week profile, and a few blog articles and links of interest to car show folks. Now, on to the first edition of Car Show Life Automotive News. As the UAW strike and subsequent COVID-19 shutdown had future Corvette C8 owners waiting and waiting for their new rides, likely the same is to happen to early adopters of the 2021 Ford Bronco. TheTruthAboutCars.com reported that a local protest for indigenous land rights is blocking the flow of imports and exports in the Mexican state of Sonora, affecting the operations of Ford's Hermosillo plant that will be home to the new Bronco and the forthcoming compact pickup, tentatively named Maverick. That and other factors seem to point to customers having to wait for delivery of their 2021 Bronco until the 2022 calendar year. And speaking of assembly plants, GM has announced that their Lansing Grand River facility will be retooled for EV production, and the timing of that coincides with the rumored end of the sixth generation Camaro. So, what's going to happen with Camaro? I know I'm concerned about that as a Camaro guy, but nothing is certain at this point. However, when you start connecting the dots, Chief Engineer of Camaro, Al Oppenheiser, was moved to the EV program in late 2018. In 2019, GM Performance created a one-off e-Copo electric drag race car. And finally, earlier this year, a teaser video showed GM's future EV platform with some vague silhouettes ranging from a hatchback, a crossover, a pickup, a van, and a long-nosed, short-decked pony car-like image. So while purists will scoff at an electric Camaro, yours truly would rather see a usable EV Camaro rather than no Camaro at all. Finally, I'd like to know how you live the car show life. Are you into muscle cars, exotic cars, DIY hot rods, trucks, Jeeps, bikes? What do you have in your garage? What's your daily driver? Are you a collector, a builder, an enthusiast at any level? We want to hear from you. Have a car with a great story behind it? Let us know for a chance to be featured as a Car Show Life Ride of the Week. And we want your input on the topics we should cover relating to the car show hobby. Now, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Car Show Life Back in Hood Up. You can also email me directly at info@carshowlife.net. And you can always leave a comment here at NorthcentralPA.com. My thanks to Phoebe Freer for her production assistance and everyone at North Central PA Media. I'm Drake Donovan. Now go out and live that car show life. Back in, hood up.